when I heard that they were making a Black Phone 2, I had little to no hope in there, thinking of how could you possibly take this story and finish it. But I am pleasantly surprised and happy to say I really like how they took this route. The Black Phone 2 follows Gwen and Finney years after the events of the first film when the Grabber comes back. Now, I really did have a good time with this, and I wasn't, honest to God, truly a big fan of the first one. I haven't seen it since it came out, so my opinion may differ. But going right into this, I do want to say, depending on how big of a fan you are of Nightmare on Elm Street or movies, that'll affect how you view this movie, because it has a lot of that in this movie going into it. Now, going right into the pros, I really liked the acting from all the characters. I really liked the different motivations at one point. I think that was really good kind of turn in how you explain things and how that. I think they did a good job at balancing that. I also think the relationships are done really well here. They actually had me rooting for a relationship, and I cannot think of the last time I rooted for a relationship in a horror film. I know it was pretty hard on Bone Lake about that aspect of that couple, but I really like that. I also think dream sequences are done really well here. When it came to the dream sequences, I like how you can tell the difference of dream sequence and real life. I like that effect, and it works for me. And I like how it comes natural. Like, it's ease. It's not like a total swap. It's just like an ease of watching it, if that makes sense. It has good timing. I also think the gore is pretty good. And I generally do like a lot about this movie. I know I'm singing its praises, but this is just my type of movie generally. And I like how they tie the family into it. They make a turn into this movie that really puts this movie in a different perspective from the first movie and changes my shift on it, which I think can be a mix for some, but to me it leaves me as like, oh, didn't expect that. I'm glad they do that. I think they do a good job telling the full story and having that motivation in with it was a touch. That ending was really sweet. But that's really it for, and I do want to say the dream sequences as well. The dream sequences in a horror movie is the closest I've actually felt like creeped out or scared in a traditional sense of horror movie. That actually did a good job. And even though I knew they were coming, I'm like, oh, they actually did that pretty successfully. I know it was shot really well. I really like that. But the mix, I will say, now this is not a big, this is very nitpicky, because I really did like a lot about this. And that is just, there's some lines that come off as cringy, or I cringe a bit. Now, I would say the cracks at Barbara, which is personally my character, I clocked what she was going to say, because I wouldn't cancel like that. I know what they were going to say. And I loved the moments that Barbara was clapped at, and it was not cringe. I can see how some people see it as cringe, but I absolutely love those little moments. Cracked me up. Love those moments. Barbara was a great hateable character. I absolutely love that. It was funny. There were some funny moments here, but there were some moments that the dialogue wasn't great, and I could see some people not liking that. And there is one negative, and this is probably the most glaring negative, depending on how you can surpass things or not see past things, and that is going to be the supernatural ability of the Grabber. Now, I don't totally make sense. Now, there's one thing I will say. I have a few questions. Now, when it comes to a phone ringing, is it that only certain people can hear it than others? Now, this is towards the end. There's the answer towards the end of one person can hear the phone, but it can't. But then there's no reason for that. But then there's some moments that are like, they say you've been hearing things, so have you heard the phone often? There's just little things like that, as well as much as I like the last few minutes, this raises questions, okay? So my understanding was the Grabber could only hurt you if you were in dreams involved. How was he able to harm people without that? That's my question. Now, if you can ignore that glaring, it's not that big of a deal. But I have questions in the film throughout, and I don't think they did a quite excellent job as explaining that as they did other bits in the story. Like the motivation, I think, was done well. I think they could have done a little bit better with just kind of gripping what they wanted and what the limitations were. Even though I know what they were going for, you could have done a little bit better with the gripping of how that all worked together. Because there were some moments with questions. And I'm going into some spoilers. The biggest spoiler I think people will come out with is the death of the mom was really big in the first one, of how it kind of spiraled out and how that kind of felt. But the fact that she did not kill herself and it was actually the grabber who did that, that to me was a choice I did not see coming at all. And I don't entirely hate that choice, but I could see how some people could not like it. I like the link, but I think if they end it here, it would be good. I don't think they could expand the story any further than it is. I think if that would be doing a bit much. And I like the way they really handled the motivations with him, but really want to track down those boys, how it deeply affected him of looking for them, and how everyone believed him around. And again, that moment, the Barbara parts crack me up. She got clocked left and right, and it was hilarious every time. The Mustang's part, I like Mustang's character, but the part where she clocked Barbara's every time, she clocked Barbara the best. But no, that, and the glaring distances, like how, okay, so I understand the part with Hope and the daughter connected, and how she answered the phone, and that bit. But my question easily comes to, one, when they were out on the first night, Finney heard the phone. Did anyone else hear the phone, or was that selected like this time? Because there were moments before where they all hear stuff outside, which begs the question, do they all ignore that? Because they came out the first time I heard. There's just so many questions like that. And even the moment, and this is disbelief here, she was in the dream when she jumped in the water, right, the cold water. Hypothetically speaking, if she's with that much water in the water, how did she survive? Or how was she cold in that water? Because it showed that affected him. How can it affect her the same way? Like I said, there's little legitimate moments like that where it's just like that. And the grabber going and driving people in the water and doing that, how does he have that ability? If he always had that ability, why didn't he use that in the front start? Or was he planning to do that? These are things that are unanswered to me and are very glaring. But overall, I like this one. It is more of my type of movie. It is more of a Nightmare on Elm Street fan-esque type of movie, unless you're one of those fans that are like, don't copy it. I hate too much like that. Then probably don't like it. But overall, I would say I had a pretty good time with it. I do want to revisit the black phone because it definitely puts everything in a new perspective for me with how they revealed something. But comment down below if you were going to go see the black phone, and if you did, what you thought about it, and if it affects your view of the first film or not. Alright, I will see you guys soon with a brand new video, because these two characters are making it in the next video whenever I get the chance to film that.